Tim Walz, our vice presidential candidate, removed the requirement to try to save babies born alive after abortion in the state of Minnesota, which also happens to be one of those states with zero restrictions on gestational age for an abortion. So in the state of Minnesota, and it's coming soon to a country near you, if we're not careful, you can walk in to an abortion facility at 39 weeks pregnant, have an abortion that fails, and your baby will be left to die on the table. I don't want to live in a society like that. I don't want to pretend like we live in the freest country in human history when we quite literally rip the most basic universal human right we all have, the right to life, away from the most vulnerable people in society. I don't want to pretend like we live in a culture that cares for the marginalized when we champion this type of behavior as supporting women, which, by the way, literally doesn't. Women die in abortion procedures all the time. Their life gets put at risk as well during every single abortion procedure. But sadly, it is a very uphill battle to talk about the uncomfortable realities that the media and Kamala Harris are desperately trying to sweep under the rug and pretend don't exist. We are up against statements like this one posted to Instagram last night after the debate from Taylor Swift herself, perhaps arguably the world's most influential celebrity, who says, like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take on the topics that matter to you the most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. Go down a little bit. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in the 2024 presidential election. I am voting for Kamala Harris. Why? Because she fights for the rights and causes I believe need a warrior to champion them. I think she is a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ rights, IVF, and a woman's right to her own body for decades. This is the type of propaganda that truth is up against in society. Think what you want about Taylor Swift and her presidential endorsement, but she made it abundantly clear in no uncertain terms. She has done all of the abundant research possible for the specific stances taken by these candidates, and what reflects her values the most are the values of abortion put forward by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Of course, conveniently calling it a woman's right to her own body and women's autonomy over their own body. Abortion and fighting against it is a very difficult topic to broach in 2024 American politics. It is. It's probably the least popular thing one could begin to talk about right now, with maybe the exception of Israel-Hamas. You are guaranteed to receive backlash, to lose followers on social media, to lose a whole lot of friends and contact with extended family members, to maybe even lose your job. Certainly to be put on some watch list somewhere by the FBI and Homeland Security, who claim that pro-lifers are just as dangerous as the frickin' Taliban and ISIS. Real thing, different conversation for a different time. It's hard, but it was probably also really hard to stand up for any other great human rights and justice throughout history. I don't believe at all for a second it was easy to insist during the Holocaust that Jews were people and didn't deserve to be sent to a gas chamber simply because they were Jewish. I don't believe it was easy at all to stand up to dictatorial regimes in North Korea, in Venezuela, in communist China, to insist that people were people, not deserving of execution from their government for dissenting against the government. It has never been easy to do what is right. And we seem to have forgotten that in the 2020s. We seem to think that doing the right thing should always feel easy, should be popular, should be mainstream. And in fact, our society goes so far out of its way to make you believe you are doing the right thing that I really do think most people who are advocating for abortion today, which is the majority of our population, do think that they are doing the right thing. They think they're helping women. They think they're engaging in vital women's life-saving healthcare, reproductive rights, autonomy to your own body. But that same powerful propaganda and interference from both the state and the media is exactly what allowed the Holocaust to happen. It's exactly what allowed the Holocaust to happen. It's what allowed slavery to take place and every other human rights injustice throughout all of human history. It begins with dehumanizing the other to convince the masses that that group over there is not really people. They're not really people. So it doesn't really matter if you fight for them. It doesn't really matter if you do the unpopular thing. In fact, you'll probably be giving yourself a social death sentence for doing so in the first place. And that is precisely what we are lying to society about today, to convince them that children in our own womb that we can see on an ultrasound moving around in 5D are not really people. Or even that children born alive after we decided we didn't want them because they have a disability or a deformity or something inconvenient about them, looking at them on a table, they're not really people. At least not the same way we are. I don't know about you, but I don't want to live in a culture or society that treats people as disposable. I don't. I don't want to live in a culture or society in which the media is allowed to be the purveyors of humanity, because we all know how that's gone throughout history. I don't want to live in a society that's governed by abortion extremists, which are precisely what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are. Want to admit it or not. Pro-choice, pro-life, or anywhere in between. I hope we can all come to that conclusion at this point. So we have a very clear message to share to the American people within the next several months. I'm not going to tell you that's easy. I'm not going to tell you it's popular. It's literally the least popular thing that you could possibly do, particularly after everything the most influential celebrities are saying in the wake of last night's debate. But I really do believe this is a hill worth dying on. I've seen a lot said in the last several months about the 2024 election and the state of American politics. And you guys know from last night, I re-registered as an independent recently for a whole multitude of reasons. But I've seen a lot said that there is a really clear exit strategy from the right to stop talking about abortion because it's not a winning strategy. It's not where the majority of people are, even though they quite literally are. As you already know, 90% of voters under 45 want to see some restrictions on abortion because we inherently know that this is wrong. But I would like to challenge that notion that politicians and people engaged in the political space and people engaged in American culture should just stop talking about this because it's not popular. Some hills are worth dying on. And if we are unwilling to die on this hill, metaphorically, there are quite literally millions of innocent children who are dying on that hill instead. And I cannot recommend, if you guys haven't already made prayer a part of your daily routine, downloading the world's largest Christian prayer app, Hallow, Hallow. They have more than 10,000 original prayers, meditations, history podcasts, lifestyle podcasts, mental health resources, everything you can possibly imagine that has totally transformed my prayer life and that of almost every single one of you as well. Hallow is offering you a 3-month free trial to all of the incredible content on their platform. If you go right now to hallow.com/Isabel, HALLOW.com/Isabel. And our friends over at Public Square, America's largest leading marketplace for small businesses that are all pro-family, pro-faith, and pro-freedom, and pro-actual science, by the way, actually got their start out in the beautiful state of California. They are changing how we spend money in America one day at a time, realizing that where we spend our dollars is where culture is going to thrive. If you are looking for businesses to support that share your values, check them out at publicsquare.com. And if you are a business owner of any kind, make sure you add your small business to Public Square to connect with customers who share your values too. I'm so glad, by the way, that there are companies that are trying to get to the actual truth of matters like this and in standing for women in general. Just one of which happens to be my amazing friends over at Garn-U. Garn-U is the only period product company on the market that insists only women can menstruate. Thank you for that, by the way, Garnier, because we need a whole lot more of that. And their pads, their tampons, and their menstrual cup products are all 100% organic and completely non-toxic. I have noticed a huge change in my cycle since switching to Garnier products, and I cannot begin to recommend them enough to you, especially after we just found out that most leading tampon brands have arsenic and lead in them if you're buying them at Target or the grocery store. You can get a discount on your first order to Garnier if you click the link in the description of this video. And please, please, please embrace the same courage that they are in standing up for real womanhood in 2024 and beyond.